Merry Christmas! Let's make fun of vegans. Hello everyone and welcome to this very special Christmas episode of Heiser Says. I hope you've had a lovely day with your family and your friends, or if you're just hanging out by yourself, I hope you've had a relaxing day. Now, I thought today, I'm pre-recording this video, and I thought I would launch it after lunch, and we'd discuss ethical veganism or veganism and make a bit of fun about them. Because if it's Christmas, you're probably eating the roast beef. Here in Australia, you'll be having prawns, guaranteed, seafood, some turkey, ham off the bone. You'll be stuffed. And usually for me, after lunch, it was a nice long nap. That was my Christmas day. So this article came out a bit recently, or a few weeks ago, but there's also a follow-up from Business Insider about malnutrition. So I thought we'd read this. So ethical veganism could be considered a protected belief akin to religion in a landmark case. Okay, just think about that we won't be able to, it'll be hate speech ripping on vegans. So ethical veganism could be given the status of a protected belief in a landmark employment tribunal, as experts have said it is more than just a lifestyle choice. Really? Is it? Of course, it comes with malnutrition and other health issues that, really, I'd say it's a first world political lifestyle virtue signal. So maybe it's similar to religion in some ways. So Geordie Custamajana, an ethical vegan, just that last name, an ethical vegan. Look at his picture. Nothing being said. Although, his beard's as grey as mine, mate. See, it doesn't help. Has claimed that he was fired by the League Against Cruel Sports after raising concerns that its pension fund was being invested into companies involved in animal testing. Okay, so it's the League Against Cruel Sports, and they're investing in companies that are involved in animal testing. So it just shows you, when it comes to making the monies, these organizations don't even care. It's just all politics. And anyway, he has said that he was unfairly disciplined for making the disclosure that the charity's decision to dismiss him was because of his philosophical beliefs in ethical veganism. I don't know about you, but if you've ever worked with a vegan and had to eat a vegan birthday cake in the office, they taste terrible. I still have memories. I'm having traumatic flashbacks. If I was like some Tumblr Twitter, I'd be, Tumblr idiot, I'd be claiming PTSD and getting, Patreon donations for my cake vegan stress. So unlike dietary vegans who just eat a plant-based diet, ethical vegans, oh wow, there's different categories of them, exclude all form of animal exploitation by not wearing clothes made of wool or leather and not using products tested on animals. They don't actually understand or appreciate how many animals die in the farming process, even when you're eating corn or wheat. Just how many are munched up, or the fact that, to grow plants, you need animal products as fertilizer. So it really is a luxury, this type of diet and lifestyle. It's a luxury. And you can say, oh, but Florian, what about all the Asian, Hindus and the Buddhist community and all these other traditional vegan or vegetarian groups? If you look at the, Buddhist monks, that was a hierarchical society where they were at the top, and they were propped up and supported by the workers or the proletarians or the peasants. So even then it was a stratified societal benefit. So these are just the 1%ers. So Mr. Kasamajan's lawyers said ethical veganism comfortably satisfies the series of tests for it to be classified as a philosophical or protected belief. No belief should be protected at all. That's the problem with this. Your beliefs shouldn't be protected. Your beliefs should all be open to challenge, regardless of what religion it is, regardless of what political ideology it is. It should be able to be discussed in public and criticized in public. If you can't handle the criticism of your belief, then is your belief strong enough? Do you have enough of an understanding behind your belief? Meaning it will be protected under the Equality Act in 2010. These tests included being worthy of respect in a democratic society. worthy of respect. That's not being incompatible with human dignity and not conflicting with fundamental rights of others. See, this is the thing. Then some religions, I would say, are incompatible with human dignity, particularly those that practice genital mutilation on children. So let's look at the fact box here about British vegans. Wow. No wonder the UK and the British Empire is just buggered. You know, look at it. Over 500,000 people in the UK follow a vegan diet. 500,000. Wow. Your ancestors would be spinning in their graves. There are almost twice as many women than men who are vegan. Well, that's not surprising. I wonder how many of the male vegans are also, sex offenders from the left. 42% of vegans are in the 15 to 34 age group. Okay, so it starts off as teenage rebellion, then they grow out of it when they're in their mid-30s, have kids, and realize this is BS. I bet you, compared to only 14% of those over 65. Yep, so they grow out of it. 88% of all vegans live in urban areas, against 12% who live in rural areas. There you are. It is a teenage rebellion that just drags on a bit too long of upper-class urbanites who, in a first world country are the top. Wow, so it really hasn't changed. Acting on behalf of Mr. C, we're going to call him, Binman's LLP solicitor, Peter Daly, said, ethical veganism is more than simply a dietary choice. So it feels like it. I wonder if, are they all anti-vaxxers? Yeah, because the animal products used in making certain vaccines. These veganisms, you can always, animal products just find their way into everything, and they can't really live like this. It's not possible in civilization. It is a particularly and well-defined philosophical view about the relationship between humans and animals. It is based on well-considered and substantial philosophical thinking. Sure it is. Dr. Susan Owen, a reader of religious studies at Leeds at Trinity University, supported the argument and said, Mr. C has a very strong case. Dr. Owen, who assists members of the Druid Network in 2010 when they successfully argued that they were a religion to the Charity Commission, said veganism can be, oh wow, they're going to turn into a charity. Veganism can be coherently presented as a belief because it is because of the ethical dimensions that Mr. C can and probably will articulate. There is a lot of literature that can inform his view on veganism as an ethical belief. There is definitely enough for him to draw on to form a case. Well, I guess, when you look up on YouTube people who abandon veganism, they all get hammered. Just look up veganism to carnivore and watch some videos. There's some good ones out there. They get slammed by all their pasty, bad-skinned vegan friends. Veganism is more than just a lifestyle choice. Yes, it is. It's a privilege. It's got a whole orientation and practice. These beliefs inform a way of practice, and I think that's what makes it a belief rather than a viewpoint. It informs how you behave and how you relate to others. This is insane, because you could pretty much argue that for anything. Are we going to have Antifa as a religion based on this? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? According to Dr. Owen, the only test that Mr. C's ethical veganism case might struggle to pass is that it must be a belief, not an opinion or a viewpoint, based on the present state of information available. Yeah, it is. It's an opinion. It's about whether it's a belief or an opinion, which is the area that will be the hardest for the case to decide upon. There are strong beliefs involved with those who are ethical vegans, so it depends on how they present their case. Mr. C said the hearing was not primarily about his dismissal, well, yeah, it probably was, but about establishing ethical veganism as a philosophical belief. So I'd say this would be the end of the United Kingdom as a civilization. It just signals the fall of the civilization, where this will be a protected belief. He added, although the manner in which I was dismissed was intensely distressing for me, I'm sure it was. Maybe if you had a bit of beef, you could handle it. Some good may come of it if I'm able to establish this valuable protection for all ethical vegans. If we are successful in that hearing, we will then proceed to a hearing on the specifics of my dismissal. Well, of course you will. But the League Against Cruel Sports said it fairly dismissed Mr. C for gross misconduct and that linking his decision to his veganism was factually wrong. Well, there you go. He's probably been fired for being crap, and he's trying to justify this is the reason. He's always the victim. He can never be wrong. In the statement posted on their website, they said, the claimant in this case was dismissed for gross misconduct and for failing to follow express management instructions that were given to him. Yeah, I've seen that. We've had to fire people for that reason. They were too stupid to realize that they were fired for gross misconduct because the way you need to word these documents and these letters now according to the Fair Work. So you can't just say, mate, you're shit, you go on. You got to write a fluffy letter. This has nothing to do with his beliefs, protected or otherwise. In view of the lack of service to bring an ordinary unfair dismissal claim, the claimant is making a desperate attempt to link his fair dismissal to his stated belief in ethical veganism, which the League Against Cruel Sports categorically refutes. Well, League, you're getting a taste of social justice thinking. I wonder how many of you got red-pilled in this process. Commenting on Mr. C's claim that their pension fund was being invested into companies that tested on animals, a spokesman said, in 2015, the Financial Conduct Authority changed their guidelines regarding opt-in pension schemes, and none of the ethical pension funds available to us could be used for auto-enrollment. There you go. So it's beyond their control. So he's bitching about nothing. Oh, well, mate, you know, maybe you get some beefsteak in you. Sounds like you should. You're probably hungry all the time. But let's have a look at another article, which is, and I'll just jump to the top here, veganism is starting to contribute to malnutrition in first world or wealthy countries. Okay, it's adding to malnutrition. That should be enough to argue against this belief system. So, hidden hunger affects over 2 billion people globally. The cause is a chronic lack of essential micronutrients in the diets, such as vitamins and minerals. The effects of these nutrient deficiencies may not be seen immediately. Oh, I'm sure we will. Maybe making frivolous claims for losing your employment for being crap, that could be an effect. But the consequences can be severe. They include lower resistance to disease, mental impairment, and even death. Well, this explains everything. How many of these soy boy Antifa people do you think are suffering from mental impairment due to micronutrient deficiencies? Oh, this is a Christmas present for all of us, guys. While many of the cases of hidden hunger are found in developing countries, this phenomenon is also a growing public health concern in developed nations. For example, iodine deficiency is the most common cause of preventable mental impairment in the UK. I don't mean to laugh, but there are cases where, you know, iodine positive contamination used to be a fantastic benefit. It was used to clean the milk fats, and there were, I think it was Nepal, where they were trying to give iodine pills to the communities there because they had an iodine deficiency, and there's large cases of mental impairment. But the local religious figures didn't want that distributed. They were saying, no, it'll cause sterility, it'll cause all this, which is just a lack of understanding of the value of iodine. So guys, always buy iodized salt, particularly if your wife's pregnant. The UK ranks 7th among the 10 most iodine deficient nations. Wow, that is not something a first world nation should have. That's insane. And data from the US shows that more than 1 in 4 children lacks calcium, magnesium, or vitamin A. And more than 1 in 2 children are deficient in vitamin D and E. One thing with the keto diet is that you need to start eating the organs of the animals, because that's a great source for a lot of these vitamins. But then again, if you're a veganism, you're never going to get the same amount. You're going to have to get artificially engineered food or fortified food or vitamins. I never understood that. I lived with a vegetarian, and she would pop pills every day, and why don't you just eat a normal diet? Then you won't need to spend all this money on these pills. There are several causes of hidden hunger in developed countries. The consumption of cheap, energy-dense, nutritionally poor and heavily processed foods, yep, particularly by poorer members of society, is a major factor. That's why sugar taxes won't work. Even when fresh produce is consumed, there appears to be fewer micronutrients available than was once the case. This is due to issues such as soil health, caused by poor agricultural management and climate change. Okay, I like it how they stuck climate change in there. I'd like to really see the evidence that that's resulting in poor soil health. I would argue it's to do with agricultural management more than anything. You know, maybe the greenies are limiting the use of particular fertilizers. Or what about all the food waste? You know, all the imperfect food that's getting thrown out. Or here in Australia, it's people putting bloody needles in your food. Just look up the strawberry pins or needles. And now oranges. Some people have too much time on their hands. So the growing trend of veganism. The rapidly growing trend of veganism is likely to become another major contributor to hidden hunger in the developed world. According to the Vegan Society, wow, they're a society, the number of people switching to a vegan diet in the UK has risen more than fourfold in the last decade. A study commissioned by the Vegetarian Resource Group reveals that nearly 5% of the US population are vegetarian and half of these are vegan. And I wonder how many of them are suffering from mental impairment. Now, if you think that's a bit of a joke, you should look at one of the supposed benefits of switching to a high-fat diet is you have increased mental capacity because your brain can run off more than just the glucose. It can also run off the ketones. I wonder, and you're not getting as tired. So eating a plant-based diet may lower the risk of chronic disease and is good for the environment. Nope, that's not true. I'm going to cross that out. Is argued as being good for the environment, but there's no evidence for that. And may. I don't think it does. There's a lot of questionable claims in that statement, but poorly planned vegan diets that do not replace the critical nutrients found in meat, okay? They're found in meat. We're meant to be meat eaters. Can lead to serious micronutrient deficiencies. So if just by avoiding one type of food you're getting serious deficiencies, what should that tell you? Eating a plant-based diet may lower the risk. Is this the same thing? Oh, it is. I copied it again. Bone health is a concern for long-term vegans. Vegans are constantly reported to have low intakes of calcium and vitamin D, with resultant low blood levels of vitamin D, and lower bone mineral density reported worldwide. Wow, why would anyone want this bloody diet? Fracture rates are also nearly a third higher among vegans compared with the general population. So I'm just picturing all the Antifa guys with their soy and their vegan diets, breaking their wrists, punching the meat-eating bloody, MAGA hat-wearing Americans. Omega-3 and iodine levels are also lower compared with meat eaters, as are vitamin B12 levels. Vitamin B12 is most often obtained from animal foods, and higher rates of deficiency have been found in vegans compared with other vegetarians and meat eaters. The symptoms can be serious and include extreme tiredness, weakness, poor digestion, and developmental delays in young children. Developmental delays in young children. So, the authoritarian nature in me is screaming out, well, there you go, this diet should be illegal for children. Is this a form of child abuse? If you starved your child and caused developmental delays, is that a form of child abuse? Let me know your opinion in the comments, guys, because should children be allowed a vegan diet? Because you realize when a child is born, a baby is born, they're in a state of ketosis, just by default, by the way they're born. Untreated vitamin B12 deficiency can cause irreversible nerve damage. Wow, this is just sounding like the best diet in the world. While getting less than optimal amounts of B12 is quite common in pregnant women and in less developed countries, the reported frequencies of deficiencies among vegetarians and vegans in developed countries vary greatly in severity between age groups. Even low levels of vitamin B12, but not enough to be classified as deficient, may be bad for your health and increase your risk of heart disease. Oh boy. I know when we were talking to Rachel's midwife, because Rachel said, I've switched to keto, a high-fat diet, and the midwife said the biggest issue is when they cut fat, the mothers, they cut fat to lose all the baby weight. And Rachel's lost all the baby weight in 2 months? Which is insane. I think 20 kilos down, and I've back to baby number 1. And I've said, okay, honey, you need to get down to pre-Florian weight before we got married and had all the stress in our lives. So, or before we started dating and had all the stress in our lives. We'll see how that goes. So, potential solutions. Vegans can prevent micronutrient deficiency by consuming fortified food. Fortified food by consuming meat. I'll fix this article for you, idiot. M-E-A-T. By consuming meat. Fortified foods is like what they do to cereal. You know, to that crap you eat in the morning that is just sugary rubbish, they fortify it to add a few vitamins to sell it to parents who are gullible enough to think that's food. That's what they do. And taking supplements. So they're eating crap, you know, they're eating plants, which really isn't the primary food source for humans. And they want you to take fortified, engineered, mass-produced food, which is probably going to be so full of sugar it's going to bugger you up, and then by taking supplements. But supplement use is often resisted by those on plant-based diets, and they've been reported to interfere with the absorption of other important nutrients. Yeah, because certain supplements can affect, or certain nutrients can't be absorbed when you have other nutrients in your system. It's like there's a balance. You know what kind of has a nice ratio? Pardon me. Meat! Or bone broth! Also, plant-derived vegan supplements tend to have low biological activity in humans. For example, studies show that vegan-friendly vitamin D2 supplements are less effective in raising blood vitamin D levels than the more widely used vitamin D3 supplements. Other supplements such as vitamin B12 may be largely inactive in the body. Hidden hunger is widely recognized and is being addressed in many parts of the developing world by well-organized and large-scale biofortification programs. Perhaps something similar needs to be done to address hidden hunger in the West. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We just need to educate people that this diet is not healthy, that the basis of it is out of date, and it just shows a lack of understanding of how humans evolved or how humans were created, and that we need to eat meat. We need to eat animal products. You can't go through all of human history living off this food and then go, oh no, I don't agree with it. No, sorry. That's just insane, and it just is really frustrating. So guys, thank you for joining me for this roast of veganism. I'm scared if it'll become a protected religion. I doubt it'll happen in Australia, but you know, if UK is just going to hell anyway, so it probably will. And it's dangerous. This diet is dangerous. We've seen it here. Mental impairment, developmental delay for children. This explains so much with the soy boy bloody Annie for people. We won't even they haven't even mentioned testosterone level here. When you go on a meat diet, so if you go on a high red meat diet, your T levels shoot up. Your sexual drive shoots up because you're getting that testosterone in your body. Or your body, is producing it because you're eating all the red meat. So guys, have a Merry Christmas, and I hope you had a good, hearty, meat-filled Christmas lunch. And I will see you all again next time. Bye for now.